Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're strapping in for a wild ride to explore the top 10 scariest dangers lurking out there in the cosmos for our brave astronauts. Space isn't just about breathtaking nebulae and mind-boggling distances. It's a cosmic obstacle course of intense radiation, micrometeors and space junk. So buckle up, because we're about to uncover the extreme challenges astronauts face in their quest to push the boundaries of human exploration. Get ready to have your mind blown wide open. First up, we're tackling an invisible enemy that's constantly bombarding us even here on Earth: space radiation. Our planet's magnetic field and atmosphere do a pretty good job of shielding us from the worst of it, but out in space, it's a whole different story. Astronauts are exposed to high-energy particles from the sun, especially during solar flares, which are like the sun's version of a temper tantrum. And if that wasn't enough, there are also cosmic rays coming from outside our solar system, zipping through space at nearly the speed of light. These high-energy particles can damage DNA, increasing the risk of cancer and other health problems. Think about it. The Apollo astronauts who journeyed to the moon wore dosimeters to measure their radiation exposure. And even on those relatively short trips, they received doses significantly higher than what we experience on Earth in a year. For missions further out, like a trip to Mars, the radiation levels are off the charts, and scientists are working hard to develop better shielding and countermeasures to protect our spacefaring explorers. Next, we're diving into the weird and wacky world of microgravity, where up is down and your body goes a little haywire. Here on Earth, we take gravity for granted. It keeps our bones strong, our muscles toned, and our bodily fluids nicely balanced. But in space, with almost zero gravity weighing you down, your body starts to adapt in some pretty strange ways. Your muscles, used to constantly working against gravity, begin to atrophy. It's like going on a forced vacation from exercise, except this one can leave you feeling weak and wobbly when you return to Earth. And speaking of bones, they don't escape microgravity's clutches either. Without the constant stress of supporting your weight, your bones start to lose density. Astronauts combat this by exercising for hours each day, using resistance bands and special equipment to mimic the effects of gravity. They also have to wear special compression garments to help maintain blood flow. Despite their best efforts, some degree of bone and muscle loss is inevitable. Now, let's talk about a danger that's not as flashy as radiation storms or the vacuum of space, but it's just as real and potentially debilitating: isolation and its impact on mental health. Imagine being confined to a cramped spacecraft far from home, with the same small group of people for months or even years on end. The lack of privacy, the constant hum of machinery, the inability to escape into nature or the company of loved ones, it can take a serious toll on even the most well-adjusted individual. Astronauts are carefully selected and trained to withstand the psychological pressures of space travel. They undergo rigorous simulations, learn to work effectively as a team, and develop coping mechanisms for stress and loneliness. But even with the best preparation, the risk of anxiety, depression, and interpersonal conflicts remains a constant concern. The isolation, the monotony, the sheer otherworldliness of it all can wear down mental fortitude over time. It's like living in a constant state of suspended reality, cut off from the familiar rhythms and connections of life on Earth. Chapter 4: Space Junk, a cosmic minefield of debris. Let's shift gears now and talk about a danger that's entirely of our own making: space debris. As we launch more and more satellites and spacecraft into orbit, we're also creating a growing cloud of junk around our planet. This debris can range in size from tiny flecks of paint to defunct satellites the size of buses, all whizzing around the Earth at thousands of miles per hour. Even a small piece of debris can cause catastrophic damage if it collides with a spacecraft or, God forbid, an astronaut on a spacewalk. To mitigate this risk, agencies like NASA and the ESA are constantly tracking thousands of pieces of space debris using powerful radar systems and telescopes. They've also developed protocols for spacecraft to maneuver out of the way of potential collisions. But the problem is only getting worse as we launch more and more stuff into space. It's a classic example of the unintended consequences of our technological progress, and it's a challenge that will require international cooperation and innovative solutions to address. Chapter 5. Extreme temperatures, from deep freeze to solar fires. In space, temperatures swing from hotter than a furnace to colder than a witch's you-know-what. There's no atmosphere to regulate temperature. Sunlight heats objects rapidly. In shadow, temperatures plummet. These swings challenge spacecraft design and astronaut safety. Thermal control systems are essential. Spacesuits regulate temperature and protect astronauts. Human ingenuity allows us to explore despite these extremes. Chapter 6. Vacuum of space. Don't forget to breathe, or else. Now let's talk about the elephant not in the room because, well, there's no air for it to breathe. I'm talking about the vacuum of space, a place so empty it makes even the emptiest desert on Earth look like a bustling metropolis. Down here on terra firma, we're spoiled by this wonderful thing called air pressure. But in the vacuum of space, there's no air pressure whatsoever. So what happens if you're an astronaut and you find yourself without a spacesuit in the vacuum of space? Well, it's not pretty. First, the lack of oxygen would render you unconscious within seconds. Then, the gases dissolved in your body fluids would start to come out of solution, forming bubbles in your blood and tissues, a gruesome phenomenon known as embolism. Chapter 7. Cosmic Radiation, the Deep Space Enigma. We've already talked about the dangers of solar radiation, but now let's journey deeper into the cosmic abyss and confront an even more insidious threat, cosmic radiation. Unlike solar radiation, which comes from our sun, cosmic rays originate from outside our solar system, from distant supernova explosions, active galactic nuclei, and other high-energy events in the vast universe. These cosmic rays are like subatomic shrapnel from the universe's most violent events, constantly bombarding our planet and everything in space. Even with the best shielding technology, some cosmic radiation will inevitably penetrate spacecraft and reach astronauts inside. Over time, this exposure can damage DNA, increase the risk of cancer, and lead to other long-term health problems. As we venture further out into the cosmos, to Mars and beyond, protecting astronauts from cosmic radiation will be one of the biggest challenges we face. Chapter 8. Micrometeoroids, tiny bullets with big impact. Hold on tight, because we're about to enter a cosmic shooting range where the bullets are tiny, but the stakes are astronomically high. I'm talking about micrometeoroids, those minuscule pieces of space debris that pack a surprising punch. Imagine a grain of sand, or even smaller, traveling at tens of thousands of miles per hour. That's a micrometeoroid, and it can spell big trouble for spacecraft and astronauts on spacewalks. You might think, how much damage can a tiny speck of dust really do? Well, when you're traveling at those speeds, even a tiny particle carries an incredible amount of kinetic energy. Micrometeoroids can puncture spacesuits, damage sensitive instruments on telescopes, and even create small craters on spacecraft hulls. To protect against these tiny terrors, spacecraft are often equipped with multi-layered shielding, kind of like a bulletproof vest for space. And astronauts on spacewalks wear specially designed suits with multiple layers of protection to minimize the risk of punctures. Chapter 9. Unpredictable space weather. The sun's fury unleashed. Hold on to your hats, folks, because we're about to enter the domain of the sun, where the weather forecast is always unpredictable and potentially deadly. The sun isn't always the benevolent ball of light and warmth we see in the sky. It can unleash powerful bursts of energy in the form of solar flares and coronal mass ejections, or CMEs. Imagine 1 billion tons of superheated plasma, a fiery tsunami of charged particles hurtling towards Earth. CMEs can disrupt radio communications, knock out power grids, and damage satellites. Solar flares release as much energy as billions of atomic bombs in minutes. These flares can interfere with spacecraft electronics and expose astronauts to radiation. Chapter 10. Emergency situations. When space exploration goes wrong, we've covered a lot of scary stuff today, but let's face it, when you're millions of miles from home, hurtling through the cosmos, things can go wrong, and when they do, they go wrong in a hurry. Imagine a fire breaking out on a spacecraft, a critical system malfunctioning, or an astronaut suffering a medical emergency during a spacewalk. In the unforgiving environment of space, even a small problem can quickly escalate into a life or death situation. That's why astronauts undergo years of rigorous training, learning to troubleshoot systems, perform emergency procedures, and handle just about any crisis imaginable. But even with the best training, there's always the unknown, the unexpected event that no one could have anticipated. Outro, so you still want to be an astronaut? From invisible radiation to speeding micrometeors and the silent threat of isolation, these are just a few of the many dangers lurking in the cosmic shadows, waiting to challenge those brave enough to venture beyond Earth's protective embrace. But here's the thing. Despite these risks, despite the challenges and the unknowns, the human spirit of exploration persists. We are a species driven by curiosity, by a deep-seated desire to push the boundaries of knowledge and explore the universe that surrounds us. So, the next time you look up at the night sky, remember those brave souls who dare to venture into the great unknown. Thanks for watching.